There's Japanese knotweed that's, well, I suppose. We all powered? You hear us back there, David? Okay. Going to hope that a fourth member of the committee joins us, probably via WebEx, but it is 4:30, and as chair of the Park and Recreation Committee of the City of Wausau, I will call this Monday, February 1 meeting to order. And the first order of business is to hear public comment or suggestions, and we do have a young woman here today who would like to talk about a topic that may or may not be on the agenda. I don't know. So come on up. Just identify yourself, and you want an address too,
address.
Amy?
Yes.
Yeah, name
Yes.
and address, please.
Okay. Tegan Griffith, 1237 South Fifth Ave. I'm here because my alder, Lou Larson, told me to come this month. I live across the street almost directly from 3M Park off of Park Boulevard. I believe Alder Killian's seen me working quite hard on my yard since I bought my house in the last year. So I'm just here to talk about two things, off-leash dogs and lighting and the closing time. I guess that's three things, but lighting and the closing time for the 3M Park. So almost a year ago, I bought my house here. It's my first house, but I've been a renter in the city of Wausau a couple times before. So since I moved in, I have noticed that people have gotten a really great use out of 3M Park. And when the playground and stuff was open back up, people were coming and enjoying volleyball, having a good old time. But my concern specifically now with being winter regarding the sledding hill are the closing time that's listed for 3M Park and the lighting at 3M Park. So right now on the, I believe it's a county website, it shows that this 3M sledding hill, or the sledding hill at 3M Park is closed at 11 o'clock each night, which is kind of surprising considering it's right in the middle of a residential area. And then my concern, what corresponding to that is the one pole. There's a pole with a meter and like a floodlight attached to it. So my concern is mostly about safety. Why is the park listed as being open until 11 o'clock at night? And then why is there a pole with a light on that has never, in the year that I have lived here, has never been used? So I love that people are coming out and using the park and using the sledding hill, but come 9:30, 10 o'clock at night when there's still groups out there, I can hear them in my living room. That is a concern, I guess. I don't want to be like the Grinch here and like don't go outside and enjoy the park. But it is a concern for me because I'm winding down for the night. My dog hears the people screaming with glee as they go down the hill. So it gets to be a little much after a while. So those are my two concerns with that. The meter was stolen last summer. It was like missing for quite a while. And just recently it was reinstalled. And I was kind of like, okay, cool. Maybe they'll hook the light up. But I haven't seen a light turn on or like there's some kind of magical switch somewhere. Don't know what the deal is. I checked with a couple neighbors and they don't really know about it either. So here I am. My second concern, I'm a dog owner. I have a dog named Larry. He loves everybody in the neighborhood. He is a hound. He is on a tether or he's in a newly fenced yard that I built for him. But I work at home, and when I let him outside, there are folks who like to come to the park and enjoy the park, but they're letting their dogs off the leash. And as recently as yesterday afternoon, there was a woman there that had 2 of her dogs and a bunch of kiddos out there enjoying the sledding hill, but the dogs weren't on a leash. And so I bring my dog outside. 4 out of the 5 houses at the end of the block have dogs who are all properly leashed and, contained. But our concern is the safety of the folks, of the dogs that people bring to the park. They want to get outside and burn off some energy, but I know I've emailed my alderperson a couple times about my concern with the dogs. But I have a concern that there's not really any signage at the park. There's nothing really there that says your dogs have to be on a leash. I think I've walked it a couple times. There's not really any poop, like signage for, hey, pick up your feces, pick up your waste. There's nothing really about leashes. So I did what Lou suggested one time. I did go over there and, appropriately, nicely, tactfully say, could you please put your dog on a leash? And they laughed me all the way back to my house. So I get it. You want to get your dog out of the house. You want to get out of the house. Everybody's kind of tired of being in their houses. But my concern with stray dogs in general, but my concern is with the dogs that are brought to the park and they aren't properly being leashed. And I'm not entirely sure what we can do about it. I have some ideas, but my older person told me to come here. Right before I left, there was a city truck at that pole across the street with the light on it. So there was a guy just standing there looking up at it. So I don't know if there's plans for it or who do I even ask about this. I guess those are my concerns. So
Could you fill us in a little more on
Sure.
where the pole is and there's a light fixture or a
Yes.
bulb on it, but it's never operated?
It is along, that's my dog, along parallel to, I know you can't really see it, but along Park Boulevard, there's like a section of fence, and kind of right at the where the section of fence ends at the top of the hill, there's just a pole, and it is indeed a floodlight at the top of the pole. And then there's a meter right there. It's a brand spanking new meter. It's a reading error right now. But that's where it is. It's right, kind of, sure, Alder Killian kind of knows. I see you walking there all the time, but right where that little random section of fence is, that's parallel to Park Boulevard. There's a pole there, kind of tucked into the trees a little bit. You'd think it was a tree, but that's where it is. I've asked my neighbors who've been there longer if it's ever worked, and to the best of their knowledge, they said it hasn't been on either, so.
Does it look like it was supposed to light up the sledding hill, or?
It is aimed directly down the sledding hill.
Okay.
And
so
on the county, I'm sorry.
So if we were going to describe it for a city staffer, we would say on the top of the sledding hill.
Mm-hmm. And on
Okay.
on the county website, it does say that 3M Sledding Hill is lit also, but I have yet to see a light on it. I don't think the fancy LED lighting in the parking lot reaches that far. But this is kind of at the top of the bowl, right on Park Boulevard.
Okay, that sounds like
Does that help?
the easiest fix of all. With the dogs, is there any pattern to when they came? Like if we were to ask the police to go there, is it always 3 in the afternoon, or is it just all over the map, time-wise?
Sure. Good question. I think on the Saturdays, when there's fresh snow, there's usually a crowd and folks will come out there. But I've noticed on weekends, families, groups of people are coming to the park and just bringing their dog along. So I would say that's probably the most consistent sighting. The one gentleman likes to come in the middle of the day when there's nobody around, so we can appreciate his, having an empty park. We can appreciate that, but sometimes in the middle of the day, but most of the time it's on the weekends. Folks are enjoying the hill.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
is it possible the city has a sign department, we could put some signs up for dogs must be leashed at all times or something? It's pretty much a standard ordinance anyway, isn't it?
It is an ordinance, yes. Yep, it's City Code, Chapter 808.19, so the police can enforce it at any time, even without signage. We can look to see if we have strategic place to put some signage, but that's another thing, is the police can be called, even a non-emergency number, and they can come and do a drive-by. It doesn't have to be an emergency. And if they see it, they should be citing or at least warning people, because it is a city ordinance.
I kind of don't want to get into the habit of calling our law enforcement every time there's a dog out there enjoying the
that's-
snow, but I understand.
That's one of the only ways it's gonna
Yeah.
start to be adhered to, is if they see that there's some enforcement, otherwise they're just gonna continue to do
Right.
it, whether there's signage or not.
Right, I understand, thank you.
Yeah, we can send a message to the police department to keep an eye on that situation, like, if it's a weekend and there's fresh snow, please have an officer go over there, a couple of times in the afternoon and
Yeah,
take a look, so that might help.
Yeah,
But
okay.
Parks Director can look around and check the inventory of signage, and she can have a staff member go over and see if there are some good places for signs. I know in my district, we had a park with no sign, and so we had one put up, and I believe that helped, so. Okay,
That would be helpful.
very good.
Is that all?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I don't know, will any of these items, will we be able to discuss or take action on something related under number 4 on today's agenda? Will that be limited to just the proposed amendments of municipal code with the parks?
Right,
I mean,
I think we've really gone off our agenda, and I appreciate our concerns. So many of them you could address just by letting Jamie address them with other staff, and no, I don't think you can. I think this item is written just for those amendments that are set forth.
Pardon me, but I sent an email to, this morning to Jamie and Alder Peckham about why this wasn't on the agenda, because I had specifically, it's not in the minutes from last meeting, and it's not listed on the agenda, and I was told it would be on the agenda for this month about reorganizing the time slots for.
Under the ordinance, there is a section in there with a change to the park hours. It can be discussed at that time. The other items are not.
Okay,
ordinance
and which
related.
item can we discuss that under then, Ms. Polly?
The park hours under the ordinance updates, because I do have a change to the park hours we do need to discuss.
And which item would that be?
Number 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so of the topics Ms. Miller brought up, we can't discuss and take any action on the dogs or the light pole, although we can inform, take the information in and inform the appropriate city department of the matter. But we do have the closing time of parks as part of that ordinance package. Yes.
Hold on, Kat, we have an issue, I think.
Then any further time at the microphone will cost you $1 a minute. Just kidding.
Like, oh, well, I got my wallet.
Hang
I-
on.
Oh,
We got technical difficulties or something?
Yeah, but that's another-
Should we hold up for that, or?
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
saw Tom Neal was on, because I just logged on, because I have a couple different meetings to attend, but.
So we might have a different WebEx meeting up here, so hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good, because I was wondering, and I hadn't heard from Tom, but
Okay, while they work on that, go ahead.
it's not recorded.
I wasn't asking anybody to take any action at this time. I'm certainly not trying to get anybody off an agenda, but I did take off work early to be here to share my thoughts per my alder. So I'm not looking for anybody to take any immediate action or go off agenda. I'm
Yeah,
just
that's fine.
sharing.
Yeah,
So I just
yeah.
wanted that to be clear.
Mr. Chair?
I know.
Mr. Killian.
Thank you. Well, while we do have the citizen here, and she was able to come and express these during public comment, if it pleases the chair and committee, could we possibly move up agenda item number 8 sooner in the today's agenda? I understand that order can be changed, as I'd like, perhaps Alder Larson would like to add some, talk about some future agenda items that relate to this matter.
Well, I have it on the agenda.
Would that be a possibility?
I don't think that'd be a problem.
Thank you.
I'm not sure the advantage of doing it earlier, but,
It was simply for the convenience of the citizen that
Oh.
came to speak, so that
Okay.
if she had time constraints.
so it would be something that Lou would, you're opening the door for Lou?
Well, I guess,
What is there to discuss?
I guess what, you know, I don't know if there's anything to discuss other than the hours that are already on the agenda, because we talked about, you know, the signage and the police,
That's our meeting.
that would, you know,
Yeah,
that would
those
be
are kind
something
of
I would
just
address the committee.
Administrative things.
That would be something I would address Ms. Polly on the side to make, you know, that's not a committee,
Right.
if I understand, it's not.
Yeah.
Unless, Tegan, you have something that could go on a future agenda. Yes, you. Yes, since you, yes.
Could you clarify what you're asking me? What do you-
Well, what I'm saying is, with the 3 items you brought up, you talked about the police and the signage and the hours. Well, the signage and the police, we can take care of, you know, just by making a phone call, probably. But the ordinance for changing the hours and stuff, that will be discussed on item number 4 today. So there really isn't anything, to your knowledge, that we could put on a future agenda, correct?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Jamie,
Yes, Alfonso.
you said you believe that you think they can talk about changing park hours under that one agenda item. The copy that I have of the proposed amendments would seem to correspond with this agenda item, and they're designated as shaded text in yellow is added and strikeout text is deleted. And I do not see anything under sub B that indicates that we were going to talk about park hours. And I think,
Well, the until midnight item is blocked
which,
out. so
which
that-
one? Which?
And B.
Oh,
9.20.
until midnight. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's part of this
I,
park hours.
you know, I'm going to recommend to you guys that that's a big thing to change park hours. Crossing out until midnight is a far different thing than actually adjusting park hours citywide. I would suggest, it's my suggestion, that this go on as a separate agenda item the next meeting. You're
It was
talking
supposed to
about,
be on this meeting.
well, it doesn't matter if it's supposed to be or not. We're talking about notice to the
Okay.
public, right? And you're talking about potentially discussing a large matter that I think people in the public would be interested in knowing and want to address this. So my advice is that this would not really, just because the midnight thing is crossed out, I think it's a big leap. But, you know,
Okay.
I just give advice, so.
Okay, yeah, Ms. Polly and I both thought that we could fold that in, but you make a good point that there's no indication in the packet that we're going to change the hours other than the single change that was indicated, so.
Well then, Mr. Chair, could I revert back to item 8 then and make sure that we discuss park hours on our next agenda?
Yes,
Because, thank you. And could we make sure it gets on this time?
I'm making a note, and I think she's a little distracted at the moment, but I'll
That's because it's
make
a
sure.
technical issue. I mean,
So we're missing a member?
I guess Tom is on.
yeah, Tom is on the meeting invite, but the computer keeps directing her to the wrong site, and so now that's where we're at.
Do you have any, can we know whether Tom can hear us?
He can't. The meeting is not started because it's a completely different link.
He can't hear us, or he can?
Cannot. It's a completely different link. And it's a technical issue that persists.
Mr. Chair, may we move for a brief 5-minute recess, perhaps, until
I think
technical...
that'd be prudent, yeah. Why don't we take a 5-minute recess and, unless they get it resolved before then. So it's 4:50, let's at least take until 4:55 and try to get our fourth member on board if we can.
But you should be the host of this, so
Yeah.
I should have let you start it.
Right. It did this to me last
No.
month, and then I all of a sudden